Oh, and we're live!
Hey!
Woo! What's up, everyone, and welcome to Ring the Bell Live, where a giant panel of, and by giant I mean four, lovely individuals each week come and discuss the week in WWE Women's Wrestling. We would love to discuss more, but sadly we ain't getting paid for this, so we're just going to do Raw and SmackDown. My name's Joey Mayberry. I'm your dad bod demigod. And before we introduce the rest of the panel, please go ahead and subscribe to Ring the Bell if you haven't done that already, and hit that thumbs up button on this video because we know you love women's wrestling. You know you want me. You can't take your eyes away from me. But joining me to talk about women's wrestling this week, of course, from another dimension, we have...
the interdimensional Shiro, Moxie Molly. I'm so excited to be here. A double dose of Molly is always the best way to go. So we're here to bring you that.
I've had a few nights in Pride where that sentiment rang really well. And then speaking of some double Molly, we have the beautiful bruiser herself. Molly Spartan is here.
Hello, everybody. I'm excited this week about the wrestling. I'm excited.
So excited because normally we'll hop up on here and all of us are just like, what just happened? This wasn't exciting.
Again. But no, this week's exciting.
Absolutely love it. And then taking you back to the golden era, we have Jose here, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I didn't know if you wanted to do full name or Jose King Nazi.
You could call me whatever you want except Velvet Sky, so I'm good with that.
The shade, I love it. But we will call you when we want, call you when you need. I'm becoming Mauro Ranallo, apparently, because I'm on pain meds for this ankle today.
Oh, boy.
I know, but speaking of oh boy, let's talk about a trio of women. One real and a duo. That's what two means. So a woman who's real and one who is a toy. We're gonna talk about Alexa Bliss and Lily because this week we got to see a little bit more of Lily making Alexa Bliss eye someone, and y'all, jury's still out for me. I'm still kind of confused on who this actually might be. But for me personally, I'm still looking at Shayna Baszler. Let me toss it off to Moxie real quick. Moxie, who do you think Lily and Alexa Bliss might be targeting on the Raw roster?
You know, knowing Raw, they don't even know yet. So there's a lot of guesses out there. I think I really wish it is, oh dang, I just forgot her name. They were tag team partners previously.
Nikki Cross?
Yes.
You forgot about Nikki.
Yeah, I really was hoping this whole time, but just the way she's like the sweetheart on social medias right now, I don't think that it's leading to that at all. I've never thought of Shayna, so that is interesting. But I really don't know, and I don't think they know. Also, because I haven't been here in quite a while, I'm very confused about the Alexis Playground. Like, I know how we got here, because I watched that, but, like, I don't understand how Bray Wyatt turned it into, like, this amazing spectacle, and we're here now. Like, I wish Bray was still involved somehow, and a piece of me really wants this to turn into, like, some sort of, like, mixed gender tag somehow, although obviously Lily isn't that, but that's it. Those are all the thoughts going through my very spastic brain.
I respect all of those thoughts. That's a lot of fun. And also, shout out, since you brought up Nikki. Nikki, we weren't going to speak of it, but was the lone lumberjack that we saw on Raw this week for the women.
Lumberjill!
Warmed my heart. Warmed my heart. The fact that she got to throw him back in, I was like, yay! Got yourself in.
Well, Molly, since we're talking a little bit about this with Nikki, let's talk about Lily a little bit more. Who do you think Lily might be eyeing with her creepy laugh?
So I love this because I love creepy things in general. Like, I'm that kind of this is my jam. Creepy bitches is woo. I don't know. I kind of weirdly hope the person they're eyeing up is Asuka.
Okay.
And so, if you watch when Bray was there, he used to have the 2 gloves, and there was like this theory going about with Bray that if he bet you, you would revert back to your original self. And the only person that didn't really, so like Seth became a heel again, Finn became the prince again, Daniel Bryan came back with the shaved head, looked more like the American Dragon. So I kind of hope, in a way, that if she targets somebody like Asuka, we get more of the original sort of Empress of Tomorrow, or even when she used to be, I think it was in Shimmer, she had this kind of creepy heel character, much like the Grudge kind of thing going on. I don't know if you've seen any of the old sort of photos of Asuka back before she was sort of signed. So I kind of like the idea of them being like a creepy tag team and going after Natty and Tamina. So initially targeting Asuka to get on side and then going for the tag belts.
See, I'm kind of in the same boat of you wanting Asuka to go back and revert, but that's the reason I'm wanting Shayna, is I want her to revert Shayna into the woman that comes up and bites people. That's who I'm wanting to see, the vicious
That's
Shayna.
That's not the Shayna. Like Shayna, you're terrified just by looking at you. The biting stuff, I was a bit like, really? But just terrifying, aggressive, could genuinely take you in a fight. Shayna is what I miss.
I do miss that. Let me eliminate the entire roster from the Elimination Chamber, Shayna, like that kind of crazy thing. Jose, who are you thinking Lily might be keeping her eye on?
So my thing was, we're kind of going back even before the tag titles. Alexa and Nia were always kind of associated together, whether they were together, whether they had their little feud before WrestleMania 34. But I could totally see something where like something happened and Lily entrances Nia, and that'll finally break up Shayna and Nia, which I think has been kind of long overdue. I just feel like we haven't seen this side of Nia where she gets to like embrace full on like being a monster type heel. She's always been kind of sarcastic. She's never really leaned into like the super strength or even like some campy stuff like we're seeing now. So we see something like this where she really becomes like a force to be reckoned with, kind of
An
like
irresistible force.
I mean, she's not like most girls, but it would be cool to see something where like Nia reincarnated with this version of Alexa go for the tag titles and like really try to dominate both mentally and physically.
Listen, I misunderstood the question. I thought you were asking who is Lily. You were asking who do you think Lily is eyeing?
Yes.
Totally answered that incorrectly.
Yeah.
But listen, I would love to see Nia come back with teeth of skulls, or anyone in that matter, because when they like closed in on Lily, her teeth are like skulls. It's just a bunch of skulls in her mouth.
Oh.
So I think Nia could do that. Like, that'd be amazing. Just imagine her like big heel monster smile and it's just like rotting skulls in their mouth. That'd be awesome.
I'm like picturing it and it's making me cringe just a little bit.
But it would be scary AF and amazing.
I think it'd be awkward to wrestle with.
Oh yeah,
that's
100%.
True. Come shield of skulls. I'd be like,
I mean, Roman got veneers, so anything is possible. Yeah.
I love the word veneer.
You guys, what if they totally just throw us for a loop? And I know this won't happen, but I'll be very angry if it ends up being Ava Marie.
Oh.
No.
No.
No, I don't think
I also agree, no, but I will be so angry if they do something like that to us.
I just don't get what the end would be.
What? Like, I don't think that's,
Her career, hopefully.
Sure, girl.
Sorry, go on.
Moxie came in here and she shows violence. I love it.
I like how you just sip your little tea.
Everybody tried the chicken. I thought the chicken was lovely.
I went for the beef this time. It's fine.
I'm not eating because I'm on the painkillers. So
you ought to be eating on painkillers. But anyway, go on.
I know. It just makes me lose my appetite. But that's aside the point. So that's what we're thinking. Oh, go ahead, Molly.
So discussing, obviously we're discussing Alexa Bliss and the playground. Can we all just take a second to appreciate Tamina's facials the entire time on the playground?
Oh,
Oh my God,
shit.
immediately,
Like,
yes.
everything about it was just like, I could not stop staring at it. I'm like, is she going to punch her in the back of the head? Or like, I couldn't quite get it, but oh, I loved it. Everything was just all in her face.
Well, let's go ahead and move into that because that's going to be the opening conversation for our discussion of Raw because we haven't gotten any super chats just yet. So we can go ahead and talk about some weekly discussions. So Alexa Bliss and her homegirl Lily. All I think about is Nicki Minaj when I hear that name. So that's what I'm thinking about. But invited Tamina and Natalya onto Alexa's playground. So I'm guessing the playground is now also morphing into a new little version of a moment of bliss, it seems like, but a little bit more childlike, a little bit more creepy. And no lie, Natalya and Tamina look just as confused as everyone else as to why they were there and what is going on with this storyline. It was a real intriguing thing to watch. I thought Alexa Bliss played it up to a T. Let's toss it off to Molly first. Molly, what did you think about? We heard what you thought about Tamina's facial expressions, but what did you think as the segment as a whole?
When you say throw it to Molly, I was like, which one?
I know, me
I'm
first.
doing Moxie and Molly. That's it.
Right, cool. Okay. I was like, I don't know if he's coming to me. Again, like I love this sort of thing, but I love this sort. I'm somebody that loves B movies and all this creepy stuff. So all this stuff is right up my street. But yeah, like Tamina, just she weirdly she's been there for years, obviously, like. But I feel like she's really in her stride right now, and they're putting her in scenarios where she can actually show what she can offer. So that's always a bonus. And Natty just being beside somebody who's probably a genuine friend, known each other for years, it's heartwarming. But putting these sort of women in some place that's that kind of eerie and creepy as well, allowing them to sort of portray their promo skills, even just through your face, because sometimes people can say things with their mouth and it makes no sense because their face doesn't match the words. Sometimes the best promos are no words at all, and I feel like Tamina did that perfectly.
Well, she's also had to do a lot of practice with that because she's always been the girl standing behind someone else giving the promo for almost a decade now. So makes a lot of sense. Jose, what were you thinking watching Alexa invite the new tag champs on the playground?
I mean, my initial thought when I saw that it was happening is just like, okay, where is this going? And then as the segment goes on and everything, I still say to myself, okay, where is this going? Mm-hmm. Because the whole time, like, Alexa is like totally in the zone, like she's trying to enchant them, like really asking like juvenile questions. And then meanwhile, you see Natty on the swings, just like, okay, and then Tamina with both contacts looking the right way this time. It's great. She's just constantly breaking down the fourth wall, just like, what the hell are we doing here? What's the point? And then like kind of leads to the exit, and then Alexa not realizing they're gone until afterwards. She's like, oh, is it something I said? Like it definitely makes Alexa like seem very infantile, very demented, which I dig, but I just don't see how it's going to fit into the tag title picture quite yet.
100%. We don't even know if it's going towards the tag title picture. I think that's the most frustrating thing about this segment so far is just I'm waiting for a clear direction. Like they're giving me a bunch of setup, but just like give me an inkling to where I think this might be going just to kind of keep my intrigue at this point, because when it gets to like the 3-4 week point of a storyline, it's like, okay, give me a little taste, at least an appetizer, if you will. Going full Dusty Rhodes there with the if you will. But Moxie, what did you think watching Natty and Tamina walk through that segment?
Okay, so I don't watch the completion of Raw every single week, but I always make sure I watch Alexa's Playground, like on Instagram or something, like the clips of it. And I think it was Phil who posted on Twitter, like, is Raw just standing still? Like nothing progresses? And you kind of just said that. This is like the 4th week of this. Like what's going on? And so I think I'm starting to get a little bored with Lex's Playground because I want it to go a little farther, and I want to see how this is fitting into everything that's happening. Still, no shade. I'm not quite sure they know where it's going, like
That's fair.
WWE as a whole. But I am going to say, since we brought up Tamina's facial expressions, I kind of dug how, well, I always dig that. I believe that the best gimmicks are an extension of yourself. And I love how Natty was still her just like trying to be nice to everyone in the locker room self. And that's how she is in real life. And then Tamina is very nice, but is very nice, but still sassy and sarcastic. And she still let that show through in her facial expressions. And so I really enjoy how Natty and Tamina are getting their chance. Well, Natty's been there a couple times, but Tamina finally has a title and is getting her chance. And I like how they're, like we always say, I feel, when we've waited forever for someone to get a title, when they let the people basically be themselves is when they shine more. And like I like how we're finally letting Tamina break open and show who she is, and she's shining. And I'm just glad to be here for it.
Oh.
Do you feel with the playground, or you're saying that you're feeling that it's taking too long to progress? Do you think that's like a more of a modern day problem than the actual writing? Because I feel like a lot of Raw and SmackDown and a lot of wrestling in general these days, I feel like sometimes it tells a story too quickly to not let it brew. Like I feel like to me the playground, because it's taken longer, feels like something from more the Attitude Era and stuff like that, where things did take a bit longer to brew because there wasn't that many pay-per-views to fill up. There was your main sort of block. So do you think maybe we're the impatient ones now because we're so used to things being delivered so quickly? Like, do you think it's a generational era thing that we're now at the bit where we're going, tell me what's going on, tell me who is it, tell me all this? And although it's all exciting and stuff, to me, I feel like if it is getting drawn out longer, it has to be a good ending. Because
I would like to think that, but in Raw in particular, I feel like we've always felt that way, and we've just been let down too many times before. But when you said modern day problem, I've defended this since the beginning of 2020. I also feel a lot of times it's hard for them right now to write a storyline that's a few weeks, because we don't know. They're coming in, getting tested, suddenly someone has COVID and they have to rewrite the entire thing. So I think it's a little bit that we are all a little impatient, because that's where we feel that's where we're trained to think wrestling is nowadays. But I also, in a small way, feel for them, because they could have had an amazing storyline written and then someone got COVID and they have to push it off, and now someone else is shining that they didn't even realize, so now they have to push that person in front and put this other thing on the back burner. So also a modern day problem is we're still in a pandemic, and it's really hard to bet on who's going to be available in a few weeks when anyone can come in and have COVID.
Well, to talk about if it's a modern day problem or not, I'm just going to go and flat out say no, because I think it's a show specific problem. Because when I look at NXT and similar things, like the Tian Shaw gimmick with Xia Li, they've been off TV for a few weeks, and they've also varied up that storyline and had, Xia Li in the ring. They've had Tian Shaw attack people. They've had Boa do kind of different things, and I'm still thoroughly invested in that character, even though it's not on television. So if Xia Li and Boa were to pop up and do something on NXT next week, I would be still so invested. Whereas if Alexa Bliss is just going to pop up again next week on Raw and do something so similar, I'm just going to be like, okay, I need this to do something that's going to jog my interest. Because to be honest, all we've really seen Alexa Bliss do since WrestleMania is pop up, do something or say something a little bit creepy on the playground, and then giggle. And that's really been it. I think her stepping out and doing the fire thing with Reginald, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show, was at least something a little bit new, but it was still also kind of the same, because last week she popped up on a swing set and giggled. This week she made fire appear and she giggled. So it's kind of like, okay, what does this lead to? What is the story here? Yeah. Who is Lily? feed me a little bit more. Kind of like, to go back to Xia Li, they at least gave us that Tian Sha promo that told us who the character is, what the direction is, who she is, and why she's doing this to this character. I think they just need to dive in a little bit more, because I've said it before and I've said it again. NXT is just such a good example of congruent storytelling and congruent roster building. It's probably my favorite on television right now.
Yeah, and then to kind of go off of that too, Joey, like you've also noticed, like with Tian Sha, like if there is a break where they're not going to be on TV, they'll do a vignette and like try to add another layer that way. We don't have to have the same like quote unquote talk show segment every week on Raw where they're just kind of throwing whoever into the wolves den to see what happens. Like we could have another vignette like we saw when they first introduced Lily on the Raw after Mania, and like really try to play to the fact where just like we get quote unquote Lily's perspective on something, and like that could plant the seeds to see, okay, where's Alexa going to go from here, and who do they think would be a good fit to take on whatever's going to come.
So you think it would be better for them to miss a playground in a week and put just a vignette instead?
Yeah, like they could do a vignette
100%.
instead, or like some different kind of pre-tape, and then they could play into where like suddenly you see like Lily over the barricade at ringside, and then something happens and Alexa tries to ambush someone. Like they could play into that and like kind of make it seem like, oh, this is actually unexpected, because I didn't think they were going to be on TV if they had this nice like video package or whatever. But it's hard to tell right now.
All I'm saying is,
adding to this, and I know you want to move on, Joey.
Yeah.
It's been so long for me. I was actually, after this week, I was researching to find out if Alexa's injured, like if they're just trying to buy time for her to get healthy. Like that's what it almost feels, and I couldn't find anything that she's injured or having any health problems. I think it's a little bit of everything we're saying. We are impatient nowadays. Information's at our fingertips. It's really hard to plan when there's a pandemic, but also like you're right, NXT is amazing at keeping stuff relevant and keeping us going and bought in, and we're just not feeling like, I'm almost like I said, I thought Alexa's Playground is one of the most intriguing things we've seen, but now I'm like, show me more. Like it's starting to make me not even care about it.
Oh, it's like one of the most intriguing things on a program, but it's kind of like, oh, I went into an IKEA and saw a really intriguing piece of furniture. You're still in an IKEA. Like, that's kind of, yeah. But let's go ahead and keep the Alexa train rolling, because she was involved in this next match, which was the tag team title rematch, where Shayna and Nia get their match against the new champs, Tamina and Natalya, about 2 days later. And we're also going to get another match next week that we found out. Okay. But the rematch happened. It ended with Reginald trying to get involved by climbing up the steps, a la the Big Red Machine. Some fire came from the turnbuckle, pretty much blinded Reginald. Natalya was able to get the pin on Shayna, retain the championships, and then Lily laughed, and everyone made the most awkward faces that I've ever seen in professional wrestling. Like, there wasn't really one person that they panned to that didn't look like, I guess this is my scared face. Like, it was great. Jose, I'm going to toss it off to you first. How did you enjoy this tag team title rematch?
So my thing is just, well, one, it was short as hell. Like, I mean, if you're gonna like immediately book like a title rematch after like a big swap that happened on SmackDown before, I just felt like they could have benefited from like a longer segment. Like, they didn't need to have the main event introductions if it was just gonna be like a 2-minute and like weird campy stuff happened. I also think it's interesting because I think this might be the first time since like Natty's been doing like tag matches where a heart attack actually finished a match. Because I always felt like they would do it like as an homage to the Heart Foundation, but like it would kind of be like a transitional thing. But it's kind of interesting seeing it actually finish. The whole thing where the turnbuckle explosion kind of sends Reggie back, like he cinches his eyebrows or whatever, and Nia's tending to him. I thought that was interesting, but I don't know. It just feels like more the same where like you have a Tamina hot tag, it gets built up a little bit, and then like you kind of see her like trying to hulk up a little more, and then something happens, attention shifts, and then quick into the finish. So I just think they need to figure out what they want to do to actually like set this feud off and like let them move on to the next set of challengers. Because I mean, we did see also on Raw a bunch of teams saying like, I want to be next in line, I want to be next in line. So hopefully Monday, if they can finish it, they can establish, okay, where does the tag division go from here, and maybe see other stuff happen on SmackDown with the Riot Squad too. So I don't know.
Hopefully so. Molly, watching this, I thought back to your pipe bomb that you dropped on Ring the Bell Live a few weeks ago, where they just don't let women have matches. There's always somebody getting involved. There's always some sort of hokey outside spot. And when I saw all this, that's all I was thinking about. So I'm really excited to hear what you thought about this tag team match.
When it first initially started, I was actually getting kind of excited because there was the video package sort of making it seem like the tag titles were important. There was like proper introductions to the champs and everything like that. And I'm like, yes, okay, this is it. We're actually going to get a properly used, like proper match, proper championship match, and it lasted just over 3 minutes. It was 3:18, I think I timed it in, from bell to bell. Not from curtain to curtain, but from bell to bell. And it was so, like, everything that happened in the match was decent. But I was so disappointed at how short it was. I was disappointed at the fact that it was yet again something that happened to Reginald that cost the match. But what really annoyed me about it was the fact that Shayna all of a sudden started caring for Reginald. When did that happen? Like, she's never cared about Reginald. Why would she care if he got blind? Like the Shayna from NXT that I fell in love with wouldn't have given a flying about Reginald. She would have just kept on her job, but she had to stop, check if he was all right, and I was just like, nope. That was the most irritating part, was the fact that they were like, right, you now have to act like you care. And I'm like, but for weeks, she's genuinely looked at him like a piece of dirt on the end of her shoe.
Yep.
Why does she care now? Like, fair enough, get distracted by the cane flare and be like, whoa, and then turn around into something. That's fine. That I can understand. But to care about Reginald? No, I'm sorry, but I'm done. Nope.
Moxie, what did you think about the tag team title match?
Okay, listen. Whenever you come to me, I always feel like I'm the person that's just like really shitty and mean. But keep in mind, I respect WWE. They've done a lot for me in my life. But again, this just feels like I literally, on the tip of my tongue, Molly explained it much better. But like I was going to say, like, this was a total character shift, unwarranted, out of nowhere for Shayna. And it just feels like sloppy writing. And also, you're right, they never just let a woman, like, they never let women just have a women's match. It's like they're always adding something to it. And again, that feels like sloppy writing or not believing enough in us, when honestly, through the pandemic, it really was the women's wrestling that was making sense and carrying us as wrestling fans through 2021. There was a lot of weird stuff going on with the men, but Bayley and Sasha kept the attention, and it just feels like we're kind of getting, not we, but like they're kind of getting lazy and reverting back into the women's time doesn't really matter sort of spot. Also, I got very confused. Is the wild card rule back? Because Natty and Tamina both, I'm very confused. They're on like everything.
Natty and Tamina can do that because they're the tag team champs. So
okay.
When we get to SmackDown, we'll talk about why this is now getting confusing a little bit. But
I'm just very confused by all of it, actually.
The one thing about this is I felt like with this week on Raw, there was two very different production teams for the tag match and then the Asuka and Charlotte match. The feeling was so different and the approach of it was so different that I was like, have they been at like the wrong place at the wrong time? Like they've got totally different crews, and I'm like, what? So yeah, that kind of threw me, because what we're probably going to end up discussing next was so different to the way that this was treated. And yet again, shenanigans, annoyance, and me going, God damn it, like when it happens again.
Well, Yes, we will talk about that next. I'm going to use an opinion and a transition all at once. So I think one thing that we've also been not really talking about is that they're squeezing all of the women into like one women's segment, because the thing that's different about the men and the women is the men's tag team championships aren't centered around the men's main championships. They're not all grouped together. But with the women, the tag team championships, the women's championships, all of those women are in the same exact segments every single time. They're not separate. They're not anything. They're all just lumped together, which, to talk about the promo that led up into the Charlotte versus Asuka match, you saw that yet again, because it was Lana and Naomi and then Guns N' Roses of Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke coming in talking about how they want to have the next shot at Natty and Tamina. And then as they're doing that, in comes Charlotte Flair so that she can be Charlotte Flair, rip into all of them, and then go on to her stuff with Sonya Deville. And it's kind of like, why couldn't this be two different segments? Why are we still intertwining all of these women together? Because I think that's the big thing that's mostly exhausting, is you're squeezing all of this story into one match or one segment. That's why everything kind of, I think, feels so incongruent, to be honest.
Yeah, and you're sort of interlacing different storylines so that you end up just confused to go, wait, they're not like them and them like what? Because it's not just, that's their stuff and that's their stuff. Let's make it good.
Yes, and
It's
also by all
storyline
accounts,
spaghetti is what I call it. Like,
I love that.
yeah.
But like, also, shouldn't Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke and Lana and Naomi really not care for each other, because they keep making each other lose matches on accident? So they really shouldn't like each other, but that's beside the point. So Charlotte Flair comes in afterwards. She tells Sonya Deville that she didn't get pinned in the triple threat match. Who saw that coming? No one, right? So she wants her shot at Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley comes in, says nope. They make the decision that Charlotte has to go through Asuka in order to get to Rhea Ripley, which leads us to the one-on-one match with Charlotte Flair and Asuka, which, y'all, no lie, thank you. That was a solid match on Raw. I thoroughly enjoyed that one. Molly, you look like you are a little kid on Christmas ready to talk about this match. So what did you think of Charlotte versus Asuka?
It had like a proper big match feel. Like everything that happened in that match could have been on a pay-per-view easily. The only thing about it is I was really confused, because obviously there was that promo with Charlotte and Rhea and all this sort of stuff. And Rhea left with the note, I'm going to watch a queen be dethroned, or something along those lines. Don't quote me. Internet, leave me alone. But it was that feeling of like, okay, so I just assumed that meant that Rhea would be at ringside to watch the match. So when the match started and Rhea wasn't at ringside, I was like, she got lost. What's happening? And I was like, it's fine. And then her coming in halfway through just felt completely unnecessary. Like, it just, again, it was shenanigans for shenanigans' sake, which was completely unnecessary because the match was so solid. Why are you having it interject with this? And it's nothing against Rhea. 100% expected Rhea to be at ringside.
Like
but I just,
or something.
Yeah, like that. I totally expected that, and that I was fine because the champ comes out to see who she's going to face next. That makes sense.
Yep.
But for her to come in halfway through, it's like some kind of distraction. That was in no way, shape, or distraction. I understood that it was clearly the key point to go a commercial. That's all that really was.
That's all it ever is. Raw loves that trope. Have someone come out and run amok just so we can go, what's going to happen next? Stay tuned for
Grab a
Super
Snickers.
See, I wonder if that's their way of going like, work. Oh, there they are. You can calm down now. Take a 3-minute break, right back to pace. Like, I wonder if that's something to do with it. But is that where she came out and I was like, oh, no. Because I genuinely, when she came out, I thought, oh God, we're doing it again. It's distractions, shenanigans. This was going really well. What the action? And then it didn't happen. I was like, oh, cool, right, this is fine, right? We're on a really good match, really strong match. Like, loved it. But I just genuinely felt like Rhea's interactions and Rhea being involved made no sense. Like, if it wasn't in it, it wouldn't have made really, like, I didn't feel like it made much a difference. if all you sat there and just kept shouting, Charlotte, you're a loser once it was done, that was all she really needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But her being involved and getting up on the apron and all this, to me, just weirdly makes Rhea seem weaker than stronger, because it means that it makes her look like she's threatened, which, okay, I can understand being part of it, but yeah, I just felt like this was such a good match. Everything about it, there was no wasted movement. Everything about it just flowed right. Even the ending was so out the blue that it was actually surprising and well thought out and looked like a genuine counter in order to win.
100%.
It made all sense. The psychology was great about it, but yeah, just to have Rhea involved, I was like, just let her sit at ringside. That's all you needed to do.
I mean, I think the story is supposed to be that she's just not wanting to face Charlotte Flair again, but I 100% agree with you that did look like she's threatened by Charlotte. Moxie, what are you thinking after watching this match? Because honestly, seeing Asuka win did shock me.
Who, me?
Yes.
Okay, so as you know, I'm kind of more of a casual watcher now. So when Charlotte's music hit, all I could think of was Cruella de Vil, Cruella de Vil. If she doesn't scare you, nobody will. And then I'm just like watching this, song, like, ooh, she's wearing the skin of Dalmatians, but which I shouldn't be happy about. We don't want the Dalmatians to die, but anyway, exactly. How I'm actually wearing the Disney shirt today. Going to what Molly Spurgeon said, I also was like, oh yeah, Rhea's going to be out there. And then I was like, okay, she's not. So, okay, missed opportunity. And then when her music hits, Joey, this is a throwback. I was waiting for the camera to hit and her to.
Yep.
But she didn't. But also I was like, I thought the point was, and you said this, Rhea's trying to say she doesn't want to face Charlotte anymore. Yet Rhea's coming out to cause a distraction. Like, that's saying, like, that's showing us that Rhea's like, if I do face her, I want her to be thrown off. So I need to make her look weak. I need to make sure she doesn't win this. And so that's just, again, a complete character shift of what Rhea has been built up to be. She gives 0 Fs. She doesn't care. She'll take on anyone, anytime. She's like a bruiser, just like Ms. Amali Spartan. She's ready to rumble anytime. Yet they were like, let's make her come out and cause a distraction in a already perfect match. Like,
well, no
this
lie.
Isn't even a cherry on top. This is like you've added too much fudge, sprinkles, and probably some extra bananas or something. Like, it was way too much of this Sunday for me.
Well, Molly, Moxie, I know you've been casually watching, but they've really made Rhea kind of a brat. No lie.
I'm okay with her being a brat. I'm not okay with her taking away that ass kickery. Like, she can be a brat. She's allowed to be a brat, but that's who her character is. I'm sarcastic. I'm going to be a BI if I need to, and I'm not afraid of anyone. Yet here she is to distract Charlotte to make sure Charlotte doesn't win so she doesn't have to wrestle her again. Like, It just doesn't make sense.
I do feel like the Rhea that was shown on this week's Raw did sort of arc back to sort of our early NXT UK days. It was more that of sarcastic. That's what it more related back to. But I feel like at that point, that was when Rhea was really finding her feet and her character. And I feel like she found her character, but now they're trying to bring her back to what she used to be. And
bringing her back to what she used to be. She's also the one person we didn't suspect to be under the eye of Lily. So maybe.
But yeah, it's just.
That's me being so hopeful.
But no, it's just that feeling of like, it feels like very NXT UK Rhea rather than NXT Rhea, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I didn't think NXT Rhea would ever call anybody a loser, but that felt like very much something that she was told to say. If you know what I mean, like that idea, like keep calling her a loser. And I was like, when she was saying it, I was like, I don't feel like that would be something you'd say. that makes sense. Like, it felt like a forced word.
You're a loser. Like, it's so elementary and juvenile.
Yeah.
Well, Jose, how did you feel about Asuka versus Rhea? I mean, Asuka versus Charlotte. That's how.
Yeah, I mean, Asuka versus Charlotte and Asuka versus Rhea are two very different matches as we've seen on Raw over the last few weeks. But the match itself, I thought was great. It's just with what they've done with Rhea since they called her up. Like, I don't know if it's just me, but like I've definitely always gotten like a tweener vibe from her. Like, I don't know what to think of her, like in regards to like her alignment to say. So like seeing her come out halfway through the match, didn't do her full entrance for the first time. So I guess, I mean, after 2 years, you kind of learn. I mean, I was totally waiting for the foot to drop, literally, but
right.
And then nothing happened with that. And then you kind of see like her, like scoping out everything, like. And then I will say there was only one thing in the match itself that had nothing to do with Rhea that just kind of looked weird to me. When Charlotte was going for the Spanish fly, and like they made it seem like Asuka countered her, where she was just still sitting on the turnbuckle, and Charlotte just kind of moonsaults herself. I thought that was a little wonky to me, but aside from that, like they always have such great chemistry together. Like I know if I'm going to see Asuka versus Charlotte, it's going to be entertaining. They're going to try to incorporate different stuff. Like it felt like it had a good pace to it, and then the finish happens where you see Rhea getting involved on the outside, jump on the apron, and then Charlotte almost countered the roll up into getting another one, and it's kind of like back at square one. So it's like, so what do we do now? Is Asuka still in the picture? Like, is Charlotte going to try to say that Rhea screwed her again? Is this going into Hell in a Cell?
But that's the thing. Like, I feel like Rhea didn't screw her. Charlotte, Asuka won it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of agree on that side.
Because I think the way that Asuka ended up rolling her up, it actually wasn't because of anything Rhea related. Like, I thought that was smart, where it's just like, oh, you almost foiled me, but no, she fell to this prey. But Rhea, like, really trying to say, like, I want to move past Charlotte. It's kind of playing in the fact that Charlotte's always had Rhea's number dating back to last Mania for the NXT titles. So knowing that, like, okay, I have a clear foil here. At Backlash, I didn't pin her, submit her, or anything. She's still here. I need to get rid of her. So her trying to get involved to make sure that she doesn't have to go through her again. It's just like, okay, this is interesting. It's an angle we haven't really seen from a champion in a while. So what are we going to do here? But I don't really trust them to plant the seeds to really make this next match going to be a spectacle until we get there. So
I 100% agree with that. But for the sake of time, let's go ahead and move towards SmackDown. Before we do that, I do want to mention we didn't talk about her this week, but the Evolution's still happening. Once it gets a little bit more depth, we'll talk about the Evolution some more. But right now, it's very much feeling like the Evolution again. So let's go ahead and move on to SmackDown and talk about Sonya Deville just stepping up with some mic time at the top of SmackDown. I don't think I've ever heard her speak this much in a segment. Like, this was prime Sonya time. Good.
I like that. Prime Sonya time.
Right? Okay. It's going to be a t-shirt next week. I'm not going to get any money.
Friday night, Sonya down or whatever.
I don't know. Sonya down.
Oh.
But Sonya basically did a championship roll call or celebration to announce that WWE is going to be returning to live shows. Yes, I'm excited. I'm so excited for the crowd to be back. Not even going to lie. I know the Thunderdome era has been different, but God, there's nothing like a live crowd for professional wrestling. So very excited for that. But we got to see Bayley come out, make a very valid point that she was in control through the entire Thunderdome era. That was her era. And then rip into Bianca Belair in probably one of my favorite Bayley promos I've really seen her drop, to be honest. And that set up Bianca to come down and get in Bayley's face. And then the confusing part we mentioned earlier, two Raw superstars in Shayna and Nia appeared to attack Bianca Belair. Natty and Tamina made the save to set up a 6-woman tag. All we needed was Teddy Long, but we didn't get him to set up that tag team match, playa. Let's see. Jose, I'm going to toss it off to you first. Let's go ahead and rope it all. Segment and match together. How did you leave feeling seeing all this?
Okay, so the opening segment I thought was great. I thought Bailey kind of like playing into the fact that Bianca kind of screwed her and cheated with the roll up was interesting because you saw that Bailey's always going to try to win by any way she can. So the fact that Bianca kind of had her number and used the same foil to get her, I thought that was good. Plants the seed for something else coming. Then Bianca gets in the ring. They have their face off. Seeing Nia and Shayna come out like out of nowhere, it's just like, they have this quarterly talent exchange thing where like they can appear in both shows, but like you just drop the belts. You don't have to be here for this right now. It doesn't have to set up a 6-woman tag. Like I feel like I'm back in 2005, 2006 with how many we've gotten over the last few weeks. I'm just waiting for Vince's Devils and like Trish, Mickey, and Ashley to pop out. Like it's insane how many we've had. I mean, that fact aside, I thought for the most part the match was fine. I thought like it had a good flow to it. I like the fact that there are a couple different hot tags. I think it's interesting that Natalya is the only person I've seen do a snap suplex for a babyface comeback. But I mean, it works for her because her whole thing is technicality and like throwing women around and like catch wrestling sometimes too as well. Like the only weird thing that I thought was just kind of like how everything played out at the end, where like you have all the chicanery on the outside and then it kind of was the same thing at WrestleMania where Natty's distracted and then gets into the Kirifuda clutch. So, and I don't get the point of having the new champion take a submission so soon after they just won the titles last week, especially in something where it's like a multi-woman match where it's just like for the sake of having a match on SmackDown. I do appreciate that it was 3 segments for them, but I wish we got to see more women on the show instead of just one kind of clustery segment like that.
Mm-hmm. I can agree. I did enjoy this cluster a little bit more than Raw's cluster. But Molly, I'll turn it over to you. What did you feel about this opening?
I mean, I thought Tamina in this was bang on. Like everything she hit made sense, was sharp and crisp. I mean, I got really excited when there was a hot tag and it was Belair and Shayna eventually meeting blows, because again it was a really nice flow once they got in, and it's that strange sort of thing, seeing sort of this sort of 6-man multi-tag matches, and when you eventually see two people that just naturally have great chemistry together meeting in a mass of things, you're like, oh yeah, why can't they be wrestling, please? Like that sort of thing is that weird sort of thing where they've been apart for so long that when they eventually meet again, you're like, oh, wait, this could be good. And it gets you really excited. Like, I genuinely think Tamina's on the best work of art that I've ever seen of art, and I'm really enjoying stuff. But yeah, it's that weird sort of like, again, it's just ramming all the women together and getting the product out there, and you kind of just go, right, okay. And I mean, as a whole, it was all right. The round robin, where everybody hits a move, was odd to say the least, because there wasn't really any. To me, a round robin is like full of like finishers, but you get cut off. Like that's the whole point, is that it's just this madness of like a minute of just like powerbomb, spear, discus lariat, like, and then it was just kick, hit, a wee bit of this, and I'm like, wait, this is the point where you can make it cool, and yeah, it just felt a bit off and a bit odd. And then, yeah, as you're saying, like, Natalya tapping out, like, not even passing out. I think it would have been better if she just passed out, because then it's a game of, like, she's not giving up. But for her to tap out, I felt a bit like, you've just taken these titles off them. Like, there should be this division. I mean, when I seen Shayna come in at first, her first hit, I was like, yes, that's kind of the Shayna I like. But then it felt like she was back again amongst. Can we just let Shayna Baszler be Shayna Baszler and get in singles matches and be really tough and scary and hard, please? I'll wait to Santa and everything. I'll eat my veg. I'll do my chores, please.
Understand that feeling completely. Moxie, how are you feeling after this?
I'll be really quick because I know like we're trying to wrap up and we had some super chats and stuff like that. Honestly, I totally expected with the part of the promo where Bailey was saying she saw us through, rightfully so. I brought that up earlier in the show. She and Sasha brought us through the Thunderdome era. I think on Ring the Bell, we should just call it the Bayley era.
Okay.
Anyway, I thought once we saw how the match progressed, again, Molly already brought it up. It was just a bunch of women for the sake of a bunch of women being shoved in a match. It would have made more sense and made that part of her promo more impactful if they were going to make the people who literally just won the tag champions, if they weren't going to let them win, if they were going to make someone tap out or something, why didn't Bayley make her tap to show, look, I'm not in your faces anymore, but I'm still the strongest woman here. I saw us through the Thunderdome era, and none of you hold a candle to me. But instead, it's Shayna who they just took the titles off of them, and so it's like saying, this was a fluke. You guys shouldn't have gotten the championships because look, I'm still so good. Right. And going to that, Molly said this, why didn't Natalya be that like American, I don't know, hero, I guess is the only way I can describe it, which I know, I was going to say which is Canadian, so that doesn't make sense, but just be like that uber face, like, I never gonna give up, and then she just passes out to lose. Like, I can respect that. Natty, they've tried to make her be, wouldn't have really tapped out. So if they were going to do that, I think it should have been Bayley, put her into some sort of lock, and then Natty just pass out. So it keeps everyone strong. But it just kind of totally took away the momentum of Tamina and Natty, and I'm not here for that. But what I am here for always is Bianca.
Yeah.
And that is the end of my rantful speech.
Oh, I respect that speech because I agree with, I think it could have made Bayley look really strong. And really
it would have made more sense with the previous promo.
Yeah. 100%. But really, we've seen now, because it's been announced, this was really just to set up yet another rematch for the tag team championships on Raw, which, girl, we ain't got time for that. We'll talk about it next week. So let's go ahead and look at some super chats that we got. Richard Willis says, nice to see you, Moxie Mommy. Yes,
you guys want to see my bump? It's kind of disgusting.
Yes, WWE has the bump. Show us your bump.
Disgusting.
Also, don't make fun of me. I have been living in Zubaz, so that's what I'm wearing on my bottom half. Well, I don't like it.
Aww.
Oh.
Here's my Zubaz.
That's not disgusting. And we're professional wrestlers. We all live in Zubas.
Right, yep. Exactly. And let me tell you, they're the most comfortable for pregnancy.
I had to explain to Tyler, my husband, what those were because I asked for some.
Oh, Zubas are amazing. They're the most comfortable.
But to finish out this super chat, said I wish they would have had Rhea first established her Nightmare character, maybe a storyline with Alexa, then a title. I'd say a storyline with anyone than a title, but what do you guys think?
I understand.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, darling. No,
sorry, I should have tossed that to someone, but
no, it's fine. I just feel like
here.
It would be great, like if, like when they were building up like Rhea Ripley coming to Raw, like if we had like a promo, like where she actually gets to explain what the Nightmare was and like how she ran through the UK roster, how she ran through the NXT roster, like how she made history at WrestleMania last year. Like they could have done so much to build her up and really be more of a viable threat. And instead of just, she shows up, she does her entrance, I want a title match. Like they dropped the ball, and I just feel like it's going to take a little bit of time to get Rhea back to where she needs to be as far as like a character goes. Cause we know she can wrestle. She's the champion. Like she's going to be built strong, but let's add layers back to her and like make her more cohesive and like a full-fledged character.
100% agree with that. Let's go ahead. Molly, what did you think about Rhea getting maybe a little bit more story before she became champ?
See, I understand because of how she went about losing when she lost the NXT title and she showed up and challenged Charlotte, etc., etc. Like I understand how she's got to where she is and why they did what they've done with her, but it's that weird sort of thing because they did put out like weird like vignettes like Rhea Ripley is coming to Raw, and I'm like, that's when they really could have used that time to like flesh out a bit more instead of it just being like, she's coming, and you're like, okay, like
The brutality.
Why does that matter now? But yeah, like obviously, I think Rhea's a person that definitely thrives in front of a crowd. So I am interested in seeing how much the product changes, how much people's attitudes and characters change once they're back in front of a crowd.
100%.
Because I truly feel like, especially because Rhea went from through the UK crowd, and like the UK crowd can be tough, man. Like, we are brutal. We will happily, as a unit, tell you your crap. With small children to your elderly pensioners, we'll sing about your shoes, and like, hands down, the UK have the best chance. We can get a party going in a wrestling show. But so she managed to get respect via that. But I wonder if that made her need the crowd, if that made sense. So I'm being optimistic on the fact that I hope that there's a grand change of things once the new normal comes into place.
Well, speaking of being optimistic, Soju81 says, what do you think about Rhea and Alexa as a tag team? Both have dark gimmicks. I'm kind of all for it if they do it correctly. I think those two would bounce off each other well, especially with Alexa being the mouthpiece that she is and Rhea being a dominating force. I don't know if I see Rhea being too great at playing a supernatural gimmick. She just kind of seems, it'd be kind of like if Ghost Rider was teaming up with someone to me if I saw Rhea Ripley doing it. Moxie, what do you think about Rhea and Alexa as a possible tag team?
In all things, like you already said, I think I would love it if they did it correctly, but you hit the nail on the head. I am not diminishing Rhea's talent. I just don't see her as a person that could carry off the total shift. Right now, she's a badass. She's not necessarily creepy, and I don't know if she's the person that could pull off creepy. Like Alexa, we saw a total shift in personality, and she's legit creepy. And I just don't know. Like, 100% what's making this Alexa's Playground is Alexa, beyond being a good wrestler, is a phenomenal actress.
Yeah.
And so she acts in Alexa's Playground. Rhea is an amazing wrestler. I'm not sure Rhea is an amazing actress. And that's what a tag team partner to match the level of Alexa, that's what we need, is that amazing actress component. I give birth in October. I'm available after that, and then I'm an amazing actress.
Come on, Jose, would you like this tag team?
I feel like if we can see more sides of Rhea in regards to character development and like actually see if she's more than just a badass and like an asshole, I guess, like with the way that she talks to other people on Raw, like never say never in wrestling, but as it stands right now, I don't think there's enough there to get me invested in them as a union.
100% on that. Molly, would you like to see this tag?
I agree with both Kobe. I feel like Rhea is a fan of the occult, but not part of the occult. It's sort of how I see about it. I mean, I understand because she is more goth and more of an alternative feel about her. But yeah, I feel like as well, I don't know how she would do. I don't know how she would do as a tag wrestler. I understand the dynamic of the two of them being put together, sort of like this Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, tiny person, big person kind of idea. But I think with Alexa, because it's so out there, I think it would be more, you would need somebody who's either done something like that previously, which is why I brought up Asuka, because she's done that sort of gimmick sort of thing before, or someone new, like some big, like, could you imagine if like Raquel Gonzalez hadn't ever been like shown and she just appeared as Alexa, like, so if she hadn't been shown, if she was still at the Performance Center, like someone of that stature to be with Alexa would be cool, because it needs to be I feel like it needs to be someone unknown, if that makes sense, to make it, to actually give them the chance to believe them. Like
Which
the
is kind
idea
of like the Xia Li thing, to be honest.
yeah, like you need to give them a chance to believe it. So it needs to be somebody fresh, I feel like. Because
I do know that we have the two signees in NXT, and I can't remember their names right now. But
Gigi
both
Dolan
of them,
and Cora Jade.
But I don't think it's either one of them. And again, I'm not sure if they have the acting chops to pull it off. But I see what Molly is saying. If it's someone who is brand new and we don't expect a certain something out of them, that's going to more carry this. As long as they're a great, like, you really have to be a great gimmicky actress to be able to pull it off.
It's like the sort of idea where, like, when Kane came in, you didn't know who he was, you didn't expect anything. You didn't look at him and go, I wonder if he's going to do the dentist gimmick again. Like, you want this fresh approach when it comes to something of this nature. Alexa Bliss, you were able to sort of explain via the Fiend, and there was all this time put into it. In all honesty, are you going to put this amount of time into someone to team with her?
Right.
Or do you just bring in somebody new that nobody knows? And, well, not nobody knows. There probably will be somebody maybe from NXT, but the majority, the main sort of wrestling people that watch only Raw and SmackDown wouldn't necessarily know. And you can start with a fresh, and then it means that there's not that added pressure of what they did previously on top of it. And that constant question of, like, I wonder when they're going to change back. Like, no, behave.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of, I see the idea of putting Rhea and Alexa together, but to me, it's kind of like when I had to explain to my parents that just because I wanted to shop at Hot Topic doesn't mean that I wanted to worship the devil. Like, it was kind of that whole dynamic there. Before we sign off, I know we did have one more super chat, but unfortunately my computer did crash. It was a shout out to the anniversary of Hana Kimura's passing, so I want to go ahead and acknowledge that. So if any of you guys have some words that you might want to say for that before we go ahead and do our sign off, you're more than welcome to do that.
Yeah, I know they were saying tonight Kyoko Himura's putting on that tribute show in Japan in honor of Hana. It's crazy that in a year so much has happened, and someone who's so young had so much life in her, like whether it been inside the ring or whether it been on television or just in day to day, like people forget that the things that we say have valid, like real life consequences. So the fact that what we had to experience, what we did last year, is still disgusting to this day, but I really hope it's a lesson that you really take a moment and think about what someone else might be going through before you open your mouth or do a certain thing, and just try to cherish everyone for who they are while you can, because in a moment's notice they can be gone.
Yeah.
It's free to be kind.
100%.
Yeah, like I didn't know Hannah personally, but I knew a lot of people that did. And I know a lot of sort of the guys that would go over. She knew the most English out of a lot of the Japanese girls in Stardom, and she was usually the person in the middle that would help with a lot of stuff. So I know that there's lots and lots of girls I know in the UK here who were a mess with the passing of her, because she was just such a kind and warm soul. And like, it's that sort of thing that in wrestling we all hear about the assholes. So when you actually hear about the people that are nice, they truly are special, because for people to go out of their way to tell you how great this person is, weirdly, it sometimes seems to be more surprising than hearing someone's bad. I feel like we're ready to always discuss the worst, when sometimes we just need to support one another a bit more, and always know that talking is an option. And before you do something that can't be reversed, just reach out to the ones you love, because truly they love you back.
I love that. I can't think of a better way to end this week's episode. Just preaching positivity, preaching love, and I absolutely love that and miss Hana Kimura so much. But On that note, let's jump up, bring some energy back, because it's time to talk about ourselves, and we love ourselves. I'll start with you, Jose. Where can people find you across the interwebs?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, the Jose Can You See, letters UNC, also twitch.tv/Jose Can You See. I'll be live tonight around 8 p.m. And also next weekend on my Twitch stream, we're actually doing a charity fundraiser for Roswell Park Cancer Institute right here in Buffalo. And on our Brain Tumor Awareness Month, 4 years ago, my younger sister actually experienced brain tumor and went through radiation treatment here right in Buffalo. She's thriving now. So it'd be awesome to give back to the same facility that helped her get through it and just see how far she's come in so short time. So yeah, if you guys are generous and want to hang out and see some little bit of vulgar gaming action, I'm your guy.
I love that. Miss Molly Spartan, where can the folks find you across the interwebs?
You can find me pretty much on everything at Molly Spartan. I was quite lucky. If you Google me, you'll find me. It's quite easy. But my most current work you will find on the WWE Network with ICW Fight Club. There's a current match up now, and let's just say I was having a bad day, okay? I got very upset, and I may have agreed, well, I may have demanded a few things. On this week's one, but yeah, but I like a fight, so might as well keep it up.
Love that. I love that. Miss Moxie Molly, what dimension can the people find you in?
You can find me across all of the social medias at that's THEE, Moxie Molly. I don't have any recent stuff up, but I will tell you the reason Molly Spartan is on this chat is because I brought her here because she's the most amazing wrestler I met in the UK. Like, there's a lot of great girls over there, but I was like, whoa, that girl is going to be my UK idol. I don't know how she isn't freaking on NXT or Raw or SmackDown. I don't know how she's here with us and we're not freaking reviewing her right now. But go watch this lady's stuff.
Oh my goodness.
That was so nice. People are normally dicks to me, but that's because I've been a dick to them, so it's fine. Accept that.
She's amazing. Go
I just couldn't picture you being a dick. I've never encountered you being a dick yet.
You haven't seen her heel work. It is so good.
No, I've seen that. Just this person.
If you are really into watching these UK girls, which you should be, also go check out Sky Smithson. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
She is like, oh my God. She and Molly, like, oh, I want to see you guys wrestle each other because you guys are just so brute. It's so amazing.
I love it. And on that note, you can find me at Joey_Mayberry on Instagram and Twitter, Joey.Mayberry on TikTok. Also, check out Golden Era Podcast each and every Friday. I host that alongside Jake Smith. And also check out my show, Tops and Bottoms, where we talk about men's wrestling because we don't get to do it here. It's me and Tommy Purr every single Tuesday. All of those stream wherever you would like to stream a podcast. And we'll be back here next Saturday for a brand new Ring the Belle Live, where we'll talk about hopefully some character development from some of these storylines from this week. All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and we will see you next week. Cue the Lily laugh right now. Where's the everyone do a face?